There we go. This is my photo collection, which isn't very big. This is a picture of my brother and me. I suppose I was about 3 years old there. This was 2 years before I discovered that I was transgendered, which is really saying too much because I didn't know I was transgendered. I just knew that I had some fascination with wanting to be a girl instead of a boy. And my younger brother was the only person that I ever told about it. Well, I told him, I've discovered this great thing about mom's clothes and the way it makes me feel inside. And I'm really, you know, as a child, I'm really excited about this. I was 5 years old. He told my mother, and my mother told my father. And when my father got home from work, he had a talk with me and said, don't do it anymore. And he thought it was funny. He was laughing, actually. And he dismissed me as though it was a joke. And I was glad to get away without any more harm than that. However, it wasn't a joke. It never went away. I was constantly into my mother's things and dreaming about being a girl and determined not to be. And that leads us to the second picture here. I was a captain of the football team. Just because I had so much aggression inside of me, that was pretty much just generated because I was trying to prove that I wasn't really wanting to be a girl. Also was a wrestler and took the state championship because I had something to prove, but it didn't prove it. Because after a game, for example, I would go up into the foothills rather than to the parties that were always something that I should have attended, but I wanted to instead dress up in what ladies' clothes I had, and I would sit in my car in the moonlight, and then dressed as a girl, sort of, get out of the car and just start running across the mesa, the desert, and cactus and snakes and sharp rocks were no issue. I just ran, and I'd run until I was exhausted and I would fall down and stumble. This happened after almost every game. And then laying there breathing hard, I would look up at the sky and at the moon and ask, cry out actually, and say, why is this happening to me? Then became a Christian, and when I became a Christian, then I went to a Christian college and graduated from that, and that's what this picture is. I was working to go to college, and my wife at that time was working also. The desire was that we were going to enter the ministry, and we were full of zeal and did rather well. Ended up becoming pastors and then overseer, and then I eventually moved to Greece and became the Bishop of Greece, which meant that I was responsible for all of the works in Greece that our denomination had. And from there then, I was appointed to be the mission representative for Europe, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and North Africa. While on the one hand, being a Christian was the most important thing in my life, on the other hand, it upped the stakes of my transgender issues tremendously. And the transgender issues became more and more of a problem, My wife knew about them, but we couldn't find a way out. I went to psychologists, psychiatrists, sexologists. I spent a fortune. I even went to an exorcist to try to find freedom from this, and there was simply no freedom. Coffee good for you, or would you prefer tea?
And at one day you left the ministry and you divorced because you could not lie anymore.
Until I ended up at 45 years old, when I finally realized that I can't go any further. Then she and I and my business partner at the time agreed that I would leave.
But it was the most terrifying moment in your life, I think, that you...
It was surreal. It was like something you dream.
And then the day final came that you had your operation. Was it the greatest day in your life?
It was a very great day. It was a wonderful experience, a wonderful emotion to finally have finished the very long journey that had led me to that point. I was swollen, uncomfortable, pumped up, and I remember laying on the bed, looking up at the ceiling, so completely filled with joy that it was really done, that I had tears coming down my eyes and dripping into my ears, and I felt such thankfulness that it was there and that I was finally complete.
I think it was a long road to this point in your life.
It was. It started when I was 5 years old, and to that point I was 49 years old. So 44 years is a long journey by any standard, I think. It had been a costly journey that had cost me everything in my life anyway. And one always wonders if the price would be worth what you get. And in my case, I'd say yes 1,000 times. There's still some shattering losses, things that I'll never get over, like the loss of my son.
Because your son does not want to see you because you're Chrystal.
That's exactly right. It's been 13 years since I've talked to him, and I've shed so many tears over it and will continue to. However, was it worth it? Yeah, because if he ever comes back, I'm still me. And had I not done that, had I capitulated, then I would just be a shell. And so, you know, it was a trade, but it was a worthwhile trade. And now I have Ellen, and one day with her is worth all of my 40 years prior to that put together. And so I'm pretty happy, yeah.